let's see if MiCA will make Europe great again. A lot of uncertainty there, but I'm sure Delphine is going to do a great job at moderating the next panel and giving us all the insights to MiCA. Delphine, please, welcome to the stage. If we can give our next panel a round of applause. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Can I get your attention? Yes, cool. So good morning and welcome to this morning panel session on MiCA, the Swiss MiCA Playbook, Practical Strategies for Compliance and Competitive Advantage. I'm Delphine. I'm Head of Policy Europe at Solidus Labs, where we provide market surveillance system for financial institutions and crypto asset provider. I'm also the podcast host of MiCA Masters and the founder of the Crypto Compliance and Telegram group. And I am joined by a fantastic lineup of speakers this morning. So Anne-Lorinne, can you introduce yourself, please?
Yes, with pleasure. Thank you so much, Delphine. Good morning, everyone. I'm very happy to be here. So my name is Anne-Lorinne Mognetti. I'm a French qualified lawyer working at MME as an associate, where I'm deeply involved with all the MiCA-related topics. And let me tell you that life hasn't been boring since MiCA came into application at the law firm. So I'm really looking forward for this very insightful discussion.
Thank you, Anne-Lorinne. Judith?
Hello and welcome also from my side. I'm Judith Hasler. I'm a Swiss and Liechtenstein qualified lawyer working in Liechtenstein at NAEGELE Attorneys at Law. I'm a partner at our banking and finance sector, and I'm advising our clients on the MiCA application processes.
And last but not least, Michael.
Hello, my name is Michael Forster. I'm a financial institutions underwriter at Liberty. We are an insurer. And we have since MiCA is there, Liberty is also insuring crypto companies and asset managers with cryptos.
Thank you so much. So let's start. So with the entry into force of MiCA, the market in crypto asset regulation, for the ones that doesn't know, providing an harmonized framework across the European economic area, so access to 30 countries, one can wonder what is going to be the relevance of Switzerland in this landscape. So today we're going to explore the regulatory difference between MiCA and the Swiss regulatory regime, and look if Switzerland still holds an edge when it does not. We'll dive into practical structuring strategies and share insight for founder and compliance professionals trying to stay agile and competitive across different jurisdictions. From lessons learned from MiCA in the last first 6 months to strategic market access options and the future of Switzerland in this global digital environment, panelists will bring you perspective from a legal, regulatory, and industry point of view. So let's dig deep in the topic. And we're going to start with some fundamentals. I think it's important to highlight first what are the differences between MiCA and the Swiss regime, especially that, Switzerland has had regulation for quite a while. MiCA is still very young. So Anne-Lorinne, can you please, enlighten us?
With pleasure. I will give the two main differences that I see. First of all, it's the approach to regulate, and the other one is the approach to define crypto assets as such. The approach to regulate is very different because if you look at MiCA, so the European Union actually choose to create a standalone regime which has to then mesh with other directive, regulation, and their respective implementation in the national laws, which is not always a very easy case, as we could see, for example, with the discussion that has been happening between when is MiFID applicable. So MiFID is the EU regulation for financial instruments. When is MiCA applicable? And on the other hand, Switzerland has chosen actually to make the object crypto asset make it work in his already existing framework. So not just creating something dedicated to it, but creating something way more harmonized and make it work in symbiosis with the existing laws, and especially the financial one. And on the other hand, so the second one, which is how the crypto assets are defined, Switzerland chose actually to have an approach based on the functionalities. So on the Swiss law, we look at your token, what are the functionalities that we see, so governance rights, is it used for staking, for actually validators to participate in the consensus mechanism, and based on that, you fall in one of the three categories which have been established by ESMA, which are utility, payment, asset. It's quite straightforward, quite pragmatic, whereas on the other hand, MiCA actually tried to catch up everything, which a very wide net. So with a very wide definition of what is a crypto asset. I'm not going to repeat it here because I think everybody would be very bored. But this actually very wide definition then creates subcategories. And in these subcategories, you have sub-regime. So sometimes I think it lacks a bit of readability on this part.
Thank you so much. Judith, what is your opinion? Do you share the same view as Anne-Lorinne, or do you have a different opinion, or do you have something to add?
No, I think she touched upon the main points, but I think MiCA, different to the Swiss, is something that is add-on to the basic financial market law that was already existed. So the MiCA is not trying to put in the crypto assets into the existing financial market law, but if something from the traditional financial market law applies, for example, financial instruments, then it doesn't fall under MiCA. So MiCA is an add-on kind of, and not trying to put it within the same framework. However, MiCA is now a playbook for the whole European economic area with the same rules, and which opens up the market for service providers and tokens, also to the whole European economic area, limited to the same rules.
Thank you. I agree with you both, and I think like the advantage. Everybody knows here I'm more pro-European, but we live in Switzerland. But I think like the advantage when you navigate such a framework is like you have everything in one piece. I mean, there is thousands and thousands of like secondary legislation, but at least you look at one piece of documentation, which could make it easier. Yeah, so thank you so much. But I would be very interested that know that we looked at the broader framework about what you have been observing on the ground. So MiCA has been entering into force at the beginning, 6 months ago, and I would like to know your opinion on how it has been, how has you feel on the ground? What have you observed? And Michael, I would like to start with you.
Yes, so as an insurer, we are not the first party and crypto entrepreneur would contact, but what I can say is we see a lot of new projects, new entities entering since MiCA arrived. We see that there are a lot of applications ongoing. MiCA brings a lot of confidence for institutionals, so institutional players start to cooperate with crypto companies. They adapt it. You see a lot of corporations or even own projects. And I would say MiCA is clearly a booster for crypto in Europe, in my view. And you can see that Liberty even has a strategy for crypto, which was unthinkable like 2 years ago. So you can see that, in my view, for the retail European market, MiCA is quite a booster. And I think also it works out. I mean, it's a pain for a lot of companies with all the white papers, and it's really you cannot just send 2-pager and you get the license. It's a process. But on the other side, this is again good because it's confidence for banks or investors and like insurers. Yeah.
Exactly, and we will touch upon the white paper problem a little later on because that's a really interesting topic. But Judith, I would be curious to know, after what Michael just said, do you see a lot of projects fleeing out of Switzerland and coming to Liechtenstein in order to benefit from this new regulation? And also, what is your take on your experience from the last 6 months?
Okay, so maybe I start on the same topic. My experience from the last 6 months is Liechtenstein had a token law in place for quite some years now. So our financial market regulator has experience with these kinds of business models. It's the TVTT Act. So it's not something new to us. However, MiCA is a completely new level of regulation. We see that, and we also have trouble sometimes to explain that to businesses, telling them like the two-pager that was enough the last time is not going to be enough. You need to really incorporate all these details provided by the European authorities. So that's our experience. We're currently really reviewing a lot of documents and trying to bring it the level up to MiCA. Sorry, the first question was?
Do you see a lot of projects fleeing Switzerland and moving to Liechtenstein in order to benefit from it?
Touchy question. No, Liechtenstein and Switzerland always work together great. And I don't think it's fleeing from Switzerland. It's more as what we see is an add-on, kind of. It is some possibilities to kind of share resources to have the substance on the ground. As our authority says, if you need to have the substance, and you need to be in commuting distance. So Zurich, for example, is still in commuting distance for Liechtenstein. So there's a great possibility to share certain substances and have Liechtenstein as an add-on and not as a kind of fleeing from Switzerland to Liechtenstein.
Great, thank you, because you replied to my second question. That was on substance, and the fact that if you're, I think it's 200 kilometers away around, then you can have people in Switzerland, but you still need to have somebody in Liechtenstein, right?
Well, it is like for all the financial institutions, the main decisions need to be taken in Liechtenstein. And of course, living in Liechtenstein is not that easy. It's not that easy to get a resident permit there. So that's why we kind of say, okay, you need to be in the commuting distance. But of course, you need to be so close that you can really decide, or at least the authority saying you could come to the office to decide in Liechtenstein. And that's the important part, yeah.
Thank you. And Anne-Lorinne, what is your take? Because when we first met, I remember you told me that at MME you've been really, really busy with MiCA in the last 6 months, and I know that you're leading this part of the business with MME. So what is your take?
Well, first of all, we noticed actually that Switzerland was still the ICO land, because when we, back in last year, for example, when MiCA was about to come into force, I remember some discussion where people were hoping that MiCA would create, this new ICO craze. Maybe not craze, but will boost again the ICO in the EU. And we didn't really see that. Project actually come to Switzerland to start their ICO and launch their token. And then what was really interesting in this last 6 months is that MiCA is new, and it's new also for the regulators. And so we are actually learning with them, and it's a very interesting period of time because it's this window where the regulators actually have a very strong dialogue with you. So we can actually help to, maybe not structure, but help to shape a bit regulatory practice and guidelines in general. So that was very interesting part. And also, as looking at Europe for the top of our mountain, we could also see already some differences between regulators, because of course some of them had past experience, some other have actually to catch up. And we could already see that there has been some criticism, or let's say disappointment from certain actors in the EU that their home state could not be fast enough or didn't have enough knowledge to actually be able to process the authorization, be it for CASP or even to process the white paper notification.
Yeah, I remember we actually talked about that a few weeks ago, and we have some people are saying oh, our projects are flying Ireland and going to Netherlands, or going to Malta, or jurisdictions are a bit more friendly. So no, let's get a bit more practical, and I would like to keep this topic going. So let's say I am a non-EU-based project, and I have issued a token. Anne-Lorinne, how can I offer my token to EU customers?
So it's very easy. It's not a very complicated process. That's actually the beauty of the MiCA part for that. It's a very straightforward process, and usually we walk the client into a three-step process. The first step is to know whether you are actually offering your token within the EU. It seems obvious, but it's not that obvious. Actually, sometimes the client actually come up with very interesting marketing structuring, and you are wondering and you have to really be careful in assessing whether they are making an offering or not. If this factor is fulfilled, then we go to step 2. Step 2 being, okay, how are we going to structure this offering, or how do you intend to structure this offering? Because as a reminder, MiCA has 3 main regulatory framework for the offering. You have, let's say, the full package, which is you need to draft, notify your white paper, you need to have marketing communication that abide by certain MiCA requirements, and you have, for example, just to name a few, you have to have an agreement with a CASP to actually hold your funds during the offering. And so that's the first one. The second one is a lighter regime, and the lighter regime, the most significant part, let's say, is that you don't need to do this white paper. And the third one, it's like the golden regime, is the exempt regime, where you don't need actually all the obligation of the Title II do not apply to you. So the Title II of MiCA being the one dealing with the offering. And so as soon as we have established, okay, where are you positioning yourself, if you are in the situation where you need a white paper, you come to step 3. Because step 3 is taking care of your white paper, drafting it, notifying it, because it's really the key element to your regulatory strategy, because you cannot do anything until your white paper is published. You cannot start your marketing communication, you cannot, of course, start your offering, so we really need actually to secure this part so that you can start your business. And of course, as coming into being part of this step 3, we identify to which regulator actually we're going to talk to. And that's actually our advantage being positioned in Switzerland, is that we can choose. And based on, let's say, the nexus the company may have with different European countries, or a preference for a language, we can help the client choose the best interlocutor.
Super interesting, madam. So while you were talking, I had a few questions in my head. First, you talk about what constitutes an offer. And in my Telegram group, we have like so many discussions on what constitutes an offer. Maybe Judith or Anne-Lorinne, you want to jump on, maybe explain a little bit what is the complexity here?
Well, the complexity is that an offer is any kind of communication that gives the client enough ground to have the decision if he wants to buy this asset or token. So it is quite open, and it can be from A to Z, pretty much anything. It doesn't have to be a formal offer where you send out a letter or anything, but already certain marketing communications, depending on the detailed, how many details they have, can form an offer already under MiCA.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's a very broad regime. Do you wanted to add something?
Yeah, sometimes actually there is a confusion with the clients, because people think about private sale. And people think, oh, but I'm not offering to the public. But unfortunately, and that's a bit, I think, the mistake we made when drafting MiCA was a very hard exercise, because they had to catch up everything, the offering, CASP services. It was very difficult to draft. I completely get that. But we actually took the definition of the offering from prospectus. So the MiFID, so like the regulation that comes together with MiFID for the offering of securities within the EU. And it's exactly word for word the same, and I think it's already created confusion back in the past, because when you actually are a client and you think, okay, do I have to think about MiCA? You don't really think about, is it public or non-public? You must really think about, am I actually doing something requiring a white paper or not? Because the public or the non-public aspect is not really the distinguishing part. So that's really something that must be assessed, and that's why when I said step one, very obvious, it's not that obvious actually, and we have also to explain to the client sometimes, well, no, private offering is also in it. Can you tell us what you have done in the past with that?
Yeah, indeed, really broad. Which brings me to another topic linked to this one. Yeah, it's not an easy topic, and it's not easy to cover it in this much time. It's admission to trading. Like, how does that work? Like, if you want your token to be admitted to trading on a CASP, or if as a CASP you want to actually list a token.
So offering offering a token and admissioning it to trading is actually under MiCA under the same regulation, kind of. So it's you kind of have to do the same checks for if you want to have the token admission to trading, than what you need to do if you would like to offer the token. So it's the MiCA doesn't distinguish between those two, really.
Thank you, and I think like the thing to take from this different answers that you provide is that you actually can be in Switzerland and offer your token in the EU, provided you respect certain number of conditions. So, Michael, do you think we can still say that Switzerland is still the best place to launch an ICO?
So it's not my opinion; it's what I see. I think that most think that Switzerland is still the best place to issue a token, and I must say yes, I also think so, because it's easy to issue a token here. The regulation is positive here for an ICO, but then you have to think about the steps. You have the ICO, and then you have a token, then you have Switzerland. This qualifies the token somehow, maybe a governance token. Then you have to check, is this also a governance token in MiCA? Is it the same? Which can be really tricky. So to issue it is one thing, then you have to check that your token matches all the requirements in Switzerland and also in the EU, in my view. And then, yeah, you should also think about who's trading it, where is it traded. You have to think about who's staking it. Is this staking in the EU? Is it staking in Switzerland? I mean, in Switzerland, everything is quite free and, yeah, easy. And in MiCA, you have to be, much more compliant, and you have to check really what is your token, what are people doing with your token. So I would say, if you want to be in the retail market in Europe, the only thing you can do is comply with MiCA laws. So.
Thank you. Judith, I think you looked at me. I think you wanted to say something here.
Yeah, I think the first answer every lawyer you would get from every lawyer is it depends. I would say it depends what qualification your token has. If it starts falling under one of the higher regulations under MiCA, for example, for an asset reference token, then of course Switzerland is probably not a good place to start, I would say so, just due to certain regulations you need to follow to have also a seat within the EEA. As long as you're outside of EMTs and asset reference token, with other tokens, or even fall completely out of MiCA, I think Switzerland is still a place to go, but still with all these informations you need to keep in mind. What do you want to do with this token afterwards? What's your way forward? Is it really the easiest way to go?
Thank you, and I'm looking at the time, and I say the topic linked to this one about the token qualification, which is something I like it because it's a bit controversial. It's stablecoin. So, Anne-Lorinne, where would you advise an issuer to set up shop? Is Switzerland a good option for a stablecoin issuer?
That's very touchy, Delphine. Actually, so FINMA has updated its guidelines on stablecoin last July, and now it requires not just project stablecoin to be able to identify their stablecoin holder just at the emission and redemption part, but also to know all through the life of the token who is actually holding it. So for example, the stablecoin project we are June 5th, should be able to tell the regulator today, here is the list of the people who hold my token. And of course, if your plan of having a stablecoin which is meant to be used as a wide means of payment, then these rules are not very practicable and manageable. But we saw a few projects, and it's the only way, actually, I think, where our regulation can be manageable. It's where you want your stablecoin to become a means of payment within a closed network. So, like, you really want actually to use it for within a platform. Like, it's a means of payment really for a few limited number of people, and the project actually knows who these people are going to be. But I think that any jurisdiction, when it comes to stablecoin, is a bit touchy about that because it touches to monetary sovereignty. So every time you start to touch as that, of course, states actually wants to have a look at it and to be able to control it in a way so that it doesn't create shadow banking or even become like a competition to official currencies.
Thank you. That was very well summarized in a very short period of time.
Thank you.
Michael and Judith, do you have a different opinion, or are you aligned with Anne-Lorinne?
No, I align with her. For me, it's just one of the big use cases. It's a stable coin, and it's an institutional thing. So the banks are interested in it, and we can see that they have projects. They want to insure the project. So I see it, and and therefore you need all the required licenses in all the jurisdictions you are working, and you also have to check each country. Do I need a special license there? And so, it's an institutional thing in my view.
Yeah, thank you. And just to jump on something you say, I think like in Switzerland, indeed, like if you operate in a closed network, and because what you just say about like it's more adoption will come with financial institution, and I guess I will more adopt this model of closed network. But no, quickly, any closing remark, Judith?
Oh, closing remarks. So I think we're still in the process of discovering MiCA. It's new to all of us. My partner, Thomas NAEGELE, always likes to say we're building the plane while flying. And that's how I feel sometimes at working. And like my colleague already said, we're also working really closely with our authority and trying to see how we can move forward. And actually the FMA Liechtenstein is going to hold a workshop in end of June, kind of sharing the best practices and lessons learned from the first applications they got and how we could go forward and find a way together to go through MiCA.
Very interesting, thank you. Anne-Lorinne?
Call a lawyer. No, joke aside, I think founders, as soon as like you have a proof of concept, which is a well established, you already know where you are who are going to be your clients, you already know that your IDs is working. Choosing your jurisdiction is actually a very important decision because it's really going to give you the condition in which your business is going to grow.
Thank you, Michael.
Yeah, so in my view, let's talk about MiCA. I think it was the booster crypto needed so that institutions like insurers or banks accept it. Switzerland was already there, Liechtenstein was there, and now we have MiCA, which is a good thing for this industry.
Thank you so much. And on my side, just quickly, I think on a closing remark, I think what is important also when you choose a jurisdiction is to know what is your product, who is your target market, what is your customer type, and then when you think about the long-term vision, then you can see which jurisdiction is the best. So yes, Switzerland can still be relevant depending on your business model, and it all depends, right? We are all lawyers here, so thank you so much to my panelists. A round of applause, please.
Thank you, Delphine.
Thank you.
Thank you.